Ask, and it is given, and today it's going to be chapter 8, and chapter 8 is called, chapter 8 is called You Are a Vibrational Transmitter and Receiver. Makes sense, doesn't it? In light of the discussion that we've had in the chapters that we covered earlier, we know that we all exude a vibe. And that vibe is the vibration. That is what we are transmitting. That's the vibration that's going out. But there's another piece to it. We also have vibrational receptors, and I call them our antennas. We have these little antennas, and with our antennas, we capture the vibe or the vibration of people around us, of things around us. We can pick up the vibration of an animal or a plant or an individual. And we tend to respond to people based on what we are feeling from them. One of the biggest things that I've learned from my practice of law of attraction is that it is preferable not to respond, but instead to be in control of your vibration, so that whatever happens is happening in response to your vibration rather than that you're responding to what's happening. So we can, once we start understanding our feelings, we can start controlling our place on the emotional scale, and as a result of controlling where we are on the emotional scale, we can figure out where we are on the emotional scale and what we want and how to get it. Okay, so the words that caught my attention here were, you are a vibrational transmitter and you are broadcasting your signal in every moment of your existence. And I think that is what people miss out on, because it's every moment of our existence, whether we are awake or asleep, we are transmitting. And I was at the dentist's office this morning, and I had a cleaning appointment. The girl who was doing my cleaning, she had the 24-hour news channel going in her cabin, and I asked her if it would be possible for her to switch the volume off, because there was music playing in the clinic, and it was actually nice oldies, and I enjoyed that music. So I asked her if she wouldn't mind putting the television off, and in response to my request, she said, the news is so negative, and I listen to it 8 hours a day, and then I have to go home and meditate. So of course, since she brought up the topic of meditation, of course I had to respond. And so I said, I teach meditation, and I'm going to tell you that if you're getting 8 hours of that, half an hour of meditation at the end of the day is not enough to counter all the vibration that you're getting from what you're watching for the whole day. And that's what I want to tell you too. We are broadcasting and we are receiving all the time. But what are you receiving? And how are you responding? And what are you broadcasting? Because it's going on all the time. And whatever you broadcast is what shapes the reality that's going to come to you tomorrow or the day after that or the day after that. So being conscious of what we are letting into our system, what we are letting into our world, is really important, because it's not just about the manifestations. It's mostly about feeling good inside. Because all the manifestations that we want are because we think that wanting these manifestations will make us feel better. But the main thing is feeling better, feeling happy. And so it's not about just getting that thing, because it's not the thing that makes you happy. You're happy, then you get the thing, and now you feel happier. But if we start using objects to give us that lift, to give us the happiness, that creates that dependency, almost like depending on a substance. Because you don't have the substance, now you're out of equilibrium. Now you can't function properly. Now your world is not complete. Now you don't feel good. And it's the same thing. I want this thing. I want this thing. I want this book, maybe. I want this book. And if I don't have the book, now I'm not able to feel good. Well, and then it's the next thing and the next thing. If I don't get that, then I won't be happy. If I don't get that, then I won't be happy. And it just keeps going on. So Abraham, the way Abraham explains law of attraction is get happy first, and then everything that you want will come to you. This chapter actually explains how that works in terms of the emotional scale and in terms of how we focus. So one of the misconceptions that I find is out there based on, my coaching practice and the interactions that I have with people who are asking questions, is that most people think, I'm not sure that you do as well, but most people think that it's when I sit down or I'm doing something and I consciously start thinking about a subject, that is the only time I'm sending a vibration out about it. And that's not true. Because you are sending a vibration out all the time, and because 50% of the time you are on autopilot, meaning that you're not really connected with what you're thinking about. You just keep thinking and your consciousness is in a different place. So that autopilot is sending all sorts of signals out into the universe. And the universe is responding to those signals as well as when you sit down and you pray for something, or when you sit down and you do the vibrational work about something. The universe is responding to every thought that you think. Not only when you think that you're thinking about something. And understanding what focus is so important, because here's how I explain it. We go and flip the light switch and we don't think about it, right? If you talk to someone and you ask them, were you thinking about flipping the switch? Most people will say no. That doesn't require any thought, but it does. Because soon as you focus on something, you have activated it. You are thinking about it. We tend to separate thinking and focusing, but they are both the same thing. Soon as you give your attention to something, you are focused on it and you are thinking about it. Our mind is always thinking. It never stops. It's like the heart. Heart is always pumping blood. The mind is always thinking. Now you can slow down the pace of that thought process, but it does not go away. Thoughts are going through our heads all the time. All right, so we have to, if we are not getting the things that we want in our lives, all that means is we are not thinking thoughts the way we want to think them, and we need to change that. Because if you're not getting the results we want, that means that we are off kilter. We are not on the route that we need to be on in order to manifest the things that we want to manifest. Okay, so let's move on. You are an eternal personality focusing in the now. So here's a distinction that Abraham made in this book, is that there's this non-physical part of us, which is our personality. And that includes who we are focused in the here and now. But the part of us, there's an additional part of us, and that additional part of us is the part of us that is comparing what we see, what's before us in this time-space reality, and we express our preferences for how we want things to be. And that part of us is the consciousness that is on the leading edge of creation. Your feelings are the representatives of your guidance system. In other words, the way you feel is your true indicator of your alignment with your source and of your alignment with your own intentions, both pre-birth and currently. So this is what I want to point out to you. There are pre-birth intentions. We come into this body with intentions about what we want to accomplish. But when we get here, we give birth to new intentions. I like this, I don't like this, I want to live in this city as opposed to this city, I would like this sort of a person as my partner. All of these preferences were not given birth to when prior to birth. Those are preferences that we give birth to here. So what Abraham is saying in this really important sentence is that both intentions are important. The intentions that are pre-birth, that are non-physical, are the intentions that we were born with, and the intentions that we are giving birth to now. And what are those intentions? I intend to do this. I intend to have this. In other words, it's the birthing of desire. So our intentions over here are equally as important as our pre-birth intentions. In fact, in a lot of cases, and I've heard Abraham speak to this, is that our current intentions in this time-space reality are way more important than the pre-birth intentions, because we have the power to decide now in this time-space reality, in this moment in time. We can decide whether or not those intentions are still important to us or not. And that is what makes this the leading edge. Okay, so the next really important point on page 40 is every thought that has ever been thought still exists. Thought does not go away because it is a form of energy. It only changes form. It can become manifest or it can remain vibrational and non-physical, but it never goes away. So once we think something, it is vibrating. If we keep going back to a thought and we think it more than once, that thought becomes dominant. Abraham calls it a dominant thought. So with enough attention to any subject, it can become a dominant thought. And then if you still keep giving attention to it, now that thought becomes a belief. So a belief is a thought that you have thought over and over again. It can be really simple. It can be something as simple as, I don't like the taste of this food. Well, if you said it just the one time and you move forward, and maybe a couple of days went by and you didn't think about it again, and then that food appeared, now again you have a choice. You can go back and remember that you didn't like it the first time, or you could say, yeah, I didn't like it that first time, but I think I can give it another try and see how I feel about it. Now you have an opportunity to change your mind. If you decide that that thing still doesn't taste good, now you've given it more momentum. And then when the next day you're at work maybe or with a friend and your friend says, oh, what did you eat yesterday? And you say, well, I ate this thing, but I didn't really like it. So now you focused on it again. And then you go shopping and you see it on the racks and you say, oh, I didn't like that. I don't want to buy it. See how we focus, we give attention to the same things again and again in simple, small ways that we don't even notice. But what happens is if you do that more than once, it becomes a belief. So now it's a couple of months later and you go visit a friend and they bring this food out that you don't really like anymore because you've decided that's become your belief. So you look at it and you say, no, thank you. I don't want to have that. Why? Why don't you want that? Well, I just don't like it. So now that has become a belief. I don't like it. And we do that all the time about so many things. We do that a lot about people that we meet. I like this person, I don't like this person. This is what I like about this person, this is not what I like about this person. And when you repeat those thoughts and you tell your friends about it, or you think about it when you're on your own, the more you think about it, the more it becomes a belief. And once it becomes a belief, now that belief controls what happens next, because that belief now is the doorman that's going to open the door and let what you want in, or keep the door closed. So the more limiting beliefs we have, we close all the doors, and our empowering beliefs, our unlimited beliefs, beliefs that help us create unlimited lives, are the ones that keep all doors open. That say, no, it's okay, this person, if they're behaving like this, maybe they're just doing it today, maybe it's a one-time thing. But when you start telling yourself that it's not a one-time thing, it's an everyday, all the time thing, then what you've done is you're creating a belief, and that belief then controls your reality. Okay, so moving on. The longer you think thoughts, the stronger they become. That's what Abraham says. And the thing that is really clarifying, I find, in this chapter is that your attention to it invites it in. And I'm going to read from the book because this is really important. Every thought that you give your attention to expands and becomes a bigger part of your vibrational mix. Whether it is a thought of something you want or a thought of something you do not want, your attention to it invites it into your experience. A very big example that I have seen in the past is things that people think are hereditary, are genetic. So I once had a friend many years ago. She croaked. She's made her transition now, but her mother had cancer, and her mother suffered with cancer, recovered, then suffered again, recovered, and then finally she succumbed to it. My friend was of the belief that she had her mother's genes, and she was always afraid that cancer would attack her. And the way I look at this situation is, you are thinking about it all the time. You're telling everyone about it. You think about your mother, you think about the number of years that she suffered with it, and so you're continuously focused on it. And if you're going to focus on it so much, going to give it so much of your attention, now you've opened the door for it to come in. Because saying no to it, saying, oh, I don't want this to happen to me, it happened to my mother and I don't want it to happen to me, that's not how it works. The fact that you're paying attention to it, even if you're feeling sympathetic or empathetic towards this person, you are actually inviting it in. And this is a problem with those people who are extremely highly sensitive and empathetic, because sympathy, empathy, they attract these things that you focus on. What happens is you look at this situation, which is not a good situation, that your friend is in, and you start feeling that person's pain. When you do that, you are opening the door to that or similar things like that match that vibration to start entering your life. Why would you do that to yourself? That's like saying, I know the stove is hot, but I'm going to put my hand on it anyway. So don't do it. This, I think, is one of the biggest ways that I notice people around me, in my community, in my family, people that I know, attract things unknowingly, because what they're trying to do is that they're trying to be sympathetic. However, their sympathy is not helpful because it's opening the door to something that they don't want. So how can we be sympathetic towards our friends and still keep ourselves in a safe place, for lack of better words? You do that by keeping your position up here on the emotional scale. See, you can help a person without feeling bad for them, because you've got to start understanding that whatever is happening to this person, nobody deserves it, but everybody has created it for themselves. Nobody deserves it, but they are the creator of it. And if you allow your vibration to dip and join them, now two things are going wrong. One, you can't really help someone by joining them at a negative place. Number two, you are bringing yourself here and opening the door for negative things to enter your life. And both those things are not helpful. So how can you really help this friend? You can help this friend by staying here. By telling yourself, instead of feeling bad for them, tell yourself they don't understand. When you say that, you don't feel so bad. Okay? They don't understand what has happened. They don't understand how this stuff works. And my value to my friend is to be positive in a way that I can bring them up a notch on the emotional scale. Because if I can bring them up a notch, now I've opened the door for better things to come to them. So remember this, because all of us who want to help other people, this is how I started out. I started out trying to help people. If they were feeling hurt, if they needed something, I was there. And I've taken on really huge tasks in the past to help someone that I thought needed help. I remember when way back in university, there was this girl in my class who had all sorts of things happening to her. I won't even go into what were all the things that were happening to her. But what I did for her, because I felt so sorry for her, is that I not only created my own zoology journal, but I also did hers. So I did twice the work. And it created a lot of stress and pressure on me to do that for a whole year. I could have helped her in a much better way. I could have helped her lift her vibration so that she would feel better, so that she would be able to do her own work. Because taking work away from someone to say, oh, this is too much for you, let me help you. What that means is what you're saying to that person vibrationally is, you're helpless, and so I'm going to help you, which takes their power away, because nobody is really helpless, because everybody has access to the energy of source, and everyone has the ability to go up the emotional scale if they listen to their guidance. When we step in, what we do is we take away the motivation from them to follow their own guidance. And so that's not being really helpful. And once I realized that and the impact of that, I changed the way I did things. And now I try and keep myself over here by telling myself that this person that I'm looking at who needs help doesn't actually needs action-oriented help. What they need more than action-oriented help is help that takes them up the emotional scale. So what can you do to help your friend go up the emotional scale? Say encouraging things to them. Tell them that they are powerful, that you believe in their ability to figure things out. And extend as much help as you want. I'm not saying don't help your friends, but I'm saying, Joe, don't just do the action part. Don't say, I'll take this off your plate and I'll do it for you, without doing the vibrational work, because I call it the two-headed monster. If you just look after the manifestation and you don't do anything about the vibration, the manifestation keeps coming back and never goes away. So I'll read to you the words that I find are really, really powerful here that reflect what I just said. are, you do not invite it in with your yes and exclude it with your no. Because there is no exclusion in this attraction-based universe. Your focus is the invitation. Your attention to it is the invitation. And so, those who are mostly observers thrive in good times but suffer in bad times. See, if you only respond to what you see around you, then you are an observer. You thrive when things are good, but when things are not good, you suffer. But someone who pays attention to their emotion, soon as the suffering starts, soon as you see yourself dipping down and you see that your manifestations are changing, you do something about it. And the thing that you do most of all is that you understand that you've got to find ways to go up the emotional scale, because that's where you have all your creative control. So Abraham ends with the words, and so your once small and insignificant thought has now evolved into a powerful belief, and your powerful beliefs will always be played out in your experience. And that's why belief systems are so important. And we recognize the importance of belief systems because psychology is all about that, isn't it? The difference is psychology goes backwards to try and figure things out before they go forward. And law of attraction, I believe, from everything that I've learned over the last couple of years, law of attraction really is all about mental health. But law of attraction doesn't go backwards. Law of attraction starts from where you are and helps you to go forward. And I think that there is a lot of power in that. But I also think that when a belief comes up and you recognize it as a negative belief, you need to immediately do something about it. For example, if you go into a store and you see something that you think is too expensive for you to buy, now that is a thought that has become a belief, and because it has become a belief, it keeps showing up in your life. You keep being in a situation where you can't afford the things that you want. So you have to soften that belief instead of giving it more power. And you soften that belief by saying to yourself, it's okay that I can't bring it home just now, but I know that things are changing. The way I'm thinking is changing. What I'm learning is changing. I am growing and I'm becoming so much more. And so there will soon be a time when I will be able to bring not only this but other things like it home with me. And when you do that, now you leave your vibration in a much better place. So when you say, I don't have abundance, you go here. But when you say abundance is coming, you go back up to a place of hope. Hope is up here. And hope is such an important emotion because hope is forward thinking. Hope says my future can be better than my past. And that is a really powerful thought. And whenever you have a belief coming up that is limiting, like, oh, why would people like me, or I'm not important, things like that, those are all negative beliefs. Understand that they are your negative beliefs holding you back. Remind yourself whenever any of those beliefs come up, remind yourself that the future can always be better than the past. Okay, folks, that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this discussion, and I hope that you will join me again tomorrow night for our next chapter. Bye for now.